Hi guys, today is the 6th of October 2020. It's 19 minutes past 2 in the morning over here in the UK. I wanted to do a quick interpretation of the iPad Goat 2 video as usual. The last interpretation I did had the LOL or the 101 sign being a possible representation of October 1st, and I connected that with Obama laughing, and that's the day that Donald Trump was diagnosed with, or his test results showed positive on COVID-19. So it's a potential, obviously, with Obama potentially representing Democrats, laughing. If you saw Twitter, then there was a lot of calmer tweets that were coming out. So I think that's a relevant connection. As it moves on to the next scene, we get these children in the classroom, many interpretations for it. But what I'm looking at right now is that all of these children potentially have a representation of Donald Trump in his stages of sickness. So I started counting from October 1st when he was first diagnosed to October 2nd, October 3rd, October 4th, and got to October 5th, which is today, or yesterday for me and today for some of you still. And this one is sitting right by the exit. And it just so happens that today Donald Trump left Walter Reed Hospital. 4 days after being diagnosed and admitted to the hospital, he's left on the 5th. So I thought, okay, if that's the 5th, potentially this could be the 6th, and this could be the 7th, and this could be the 8th. Now, this 8 has a double meaning here because it's not only the 8th character potentially signifying the 8th day, but you have the 8th character also representing potentially the 8th month, which we've looked at as August, with George Bush saying August in this video. It made sense, but the reference to August could just be a reference to the 8th month, but not on the Gregorian calendar, on the Roman calendar, which would refer us to October. And then, as mentioned before, you've got the two marks above the head here. So I was thinking not only could it be the 8th day, but it could also be referencing the 11th day in October. Um, what could happen? There's many different interpretations. One of the interpretations that is coming out for me is that potentially Donald Trump goes back into hospital on the 8th day of October or the 11th day of October. Now, if that happens, then say for example it's the 11th day of October, we have four characters left leading us to the 15th of October, and we have the number 15 just behind the head of this character here, with the Kala lily representing death and regeneration and other things like that. So there's the potential for Donald Trump to go back into hospital, and then for something more catastrophic to happen after that. When I was looking at this as the 8th day in October, you've got 8, 9, 10, and having this character as the 10th character was again significant to me because um, you've got this ring around the eye here, and we've often looked at that as connections to like a solar eclipse or something like that, and I believe that is still so. But if you do look closely as well, you can see how it kind of wisps off around the edges of the circle, kind of giving you a reference to more of a hurricane, the eye of the hurricane. And when I was thinking of that, I instantly thought, is there a hurricane around that time? And it just so happens that there will be. This hurricane is called, I think it's Gamma. It's the combination of two hurricanes. I'll just take it back to today, the 6th, so I can show you that we have Gamma and we have Delta here. What happens is Delta merges with Gamma over the next coming days and becomes one hurricane. Now, in earlier projections, just before it starts breaking off into 3-hour intervals, it shows the hurricane moving towards Texas, which is again significant because in the beginning of the video, we have the George Bush character who also represents Donald Trump swirling his head around in a hurricane-like fashion, and that's always kind of drawn us to, like a hurricane happening at the same time as these events. And if that's the case, then we have a potential timeline unfolding where a hurricane is moving towards Texas. As it breaks into the 3-hour intervals, it starts moving towards Louisiana more. And then you can see on the 10th, just as if this is the 10th day in October over here, let's go back a bit more, too much, there we go. So if this is the 10th day in October over here, counting from 1 to 10, then we potentially have that hurricane symbol just there. but we also have an X on the mouth of this character. And I'm thinking potentially, if these characters are representing different stages of, Donald Trump illness, then maybe he can't breathe on this day, the 10th, or potentially the 11th. And then that obviously brings us to the 12th character, where we also have the number 15 behind the head. And I'm kind of thinking, in terms of the 12th character, something else happens on the 12th. And I have a feeling, or I have an interpretation, that it's to do with a missile launch of some kind. Recent reports coming out of North Korea suggest that um, they've built a dangerous submarine, as well as moving a intercontinental ballistic missile into place. I'm not sure if this is the actual report. Let's see, attack submarine. So scientists in North Korea have developed a traditionally operated ballistic missile submarine under the direction of dictator Kim Jong-un. The missile is known as Romeo Mod class in North Korea. It is also called the Simpo class submarine. It was first shown on television on July 23rd, 2019. So submarines are one of the major things that we're looking out for. And if, for example, North Korea is celebrating the founding of their state on the 10th of October, and it involves a missile, a KN-26 Pokesong, I can't say it, free missile, as well as a submarine which that missile could be launched from. It kind of brings you back to the eye of the hurricane and the theory we had very early in these interpretations of submarines moving underneath a hurricane or launching in the middle of a hurricane. And again, you get that kind of representation here with the Statue of Liberty and the lights going out in the middle of this swelling pattern, which we often interpret as a hurricane. The lights going out with a kind of missile reference would suggest an EMP of some kind, which shuts out the electricity. And again, it seems to be focused on New York with the Statue of Liberty there, and in the classroom, the representation of New York being the apple, and it's only being highlighted by torchlight rather than any other light, as the lights have gone out just in the previous scene. As you can see, emergency lighting only. So there's a lot of dates coming up very quickly and soon that I think we should be watching out for. October 8th, October 11th, watching out for Donald Trump going back into hospital. Around October 10th to October 12th, looking out for a missile launch from North Korea. Between October 10th and October 15th, looking out for breathing difficulties with Donald Trump, and that potentially leading on to something more fatal. Again, that number 15 and the representation of death is just prevalent throughout the video. There's also the tsunami to watch out for as well, between the 10th and the 15th. If not, then I'm looking at the 21st, reversing that number 12 to give us that number 21. But just going back to the number 15 and where that appears, and Donald Trump seems to appear as well. Here in this scene, you can see this kind of mountainside submarine is also a face on top here, the mouth, the nose, the eye, and the explosion at the back of the head. Now, I've often interpreted that as a gunshot, but there's also the possibility of a stroke, something happening internally. And at the moment, all of the stories seem to be lining up. He's on a lot of medication, got COVID-19, so the possibility of him having breathing difficulties is there. All those characters are blue, which we've often interpreted, often connected to a lack of oxygen and drowning. Also, that brings me back to an interpretation of the hurricane. Obviously, with hurricanes, you have the possibility of storm surge, so that could connect us to flooding, and another connection to those blue characters, as well as the little wave that we have on the floor just here in this scene. So I think my real main focus comes in from the 10th, but I can't miss out the 8th for that 8-day count to this character that's in the background. Although we have the representation of the 11, And the reason I say 12 and 21 is because, again, we have that 1-2 reference or 2-1 reference repeated again, 2-1 or 1-2 reference. So, and again, the 8, so instead of having the 8th character, you've got the actual figure 8 in the movie just there. The F that comes off the side. Again, that's another thing that is in that scene as well. The F and the 7, that's also represented, or the upside down L, however you want to look at it, that's also represented in this scene here. So it seems as if those two scenes, they tell the same story, but in different ways. And I think the previous scene also tells us about Donald Trump and the possible series of, the possible progression of his illness or his fight with COVID-19. Yeah, I think that's why I'm going to leave it. It's all very choppy in my mind at the moment, which is why it's kind of choppy in my interpretations. But the basic gist of it is look out on October 8th, October 10th, 11, 12, 13, and 15. Or look out between October 8th and October 15th. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.